Hello, Terry here, Fabrication. And of course, I'm back in the shop working on part 2 of this here VHL. So, went and bought some more parts. You know, it had a lot of parts, but we bought more parts. Parts is parts. This little box right over here was over $500 worth of stuff. Got some heim joints, fittings for the fuel system. What I want to do is I want to build a bar that comes across this right here. Kind of ties this in a little bit. Like I said before, just the square of this is just not real strong. So I'm going to put heim joints on there with some brackets down in here somewhere. There's the brackets. Where are they at? There they are. So got some bungs, some bungholios, and some nice 3/4 inch heim joints. So this bracket is going to go like pretty close over here to the motor mount, and then it'll go up probably here, and then I may put another bar right here just to triangulate that in. Like that'd probably be a good idea. I could go all the way up here, but that's kind of long and kind of ugly, so I think I'll do it here. If I just do it here without adding a bar, then this bar is going to have tension and could bend or at least flex. So I'll put one in here, tab here, tabs here, build a bar, and I bought left and right heims so we can crank that in and put a little bit of preload on it. So that'll be cool. But right now I'm working on the fuel system. Got the the pre-filter mounted up. So I just have to kick off to over here, put a little loop on there, and we'll keep going. All right, so I'm going to show you guys how I make my hoses. So I got this XRP Pro Jaw. I have no idea where I found it. I don't know if I got it on Amazon or what, but it gives you a bunch of different ways to hold your fittings. It's kind of cool. So I just use these reusable fittings, and you can unscrew it all the way. So you can put them in there sideways or from the top, or however you need to do that to get it to hold. But first thing I do is put it in here like this, and then just kind of shove that in there. And some of these little collars actually have reverse thread in them. So when you go backwards on it, it actually will help suck it in. But I don't know if you could see, pretty much just goes right down there to the bottom of the threads. And then I like to put a little WD on the hose part of, or the rubber, and then get some anti-seize and put that on the threads. Just like that. And then just kind of work it in there. Work it. And if it's a little tight, like this one, I got a perfect little punch for it. Stick it in there and waller her out just a tiny bit. Okay, so this one's making a liar out of me. There it goes. All right. That was one of the harder ones that I've done. They usually just pop right in. But kind of just moving around and feel for it. Once it goes in there into the rubber, you'll feel it kind of sink in there a little bit. And then I take these little guys. I really like these Nippics. I got a smooth jaw on them. And crunch that down to the right size. That way I get some good leverage on this. And then you just turn it in. Try not to scratch the customer's AN fitting. So now it's getting a little tight because it's scrunching all the metal and the rubber in there. That's why I like to use these bigger ones, because they have some pretty good leverage on there. Some of the AN wrenches will fit, some of them don't. AN wrench is an actual aluminum wrench, which is obviously what that's made for. But they're really short and you don't get much leverage, so that's why I like this one. And then you could use crescent wrench, but crescent wrenches don't grip very tight. This one has a little cam in there, so the harder you squeeze down, actually the better grip that you get. So these won't spin on you. And you don't have to seat these all the way. I mean, I like to get pretty close, but right now, as hard as I'm pushing on here, it's 100% sealed and it's definitely not going to leak. But we'll just get her down pretty close. And then, of course, I like to line up my flats. I like that right there. So there we go. So that's one done. So I'm going to make a loop. I'm actually going to cut a little bit of this off. So just take, and this doesn't have to be very accurate on what I'm doing. I have plenty of room. But wrap a little electrical tape on there, and then I use the bandsaw. Which works fantastic. And then a little bit of compressed air. And I didn't turn my compressor on, so I don't have any compressed air. Let me go turn that on. There we go. So you don't want that little bit of rubber getting in your hose there, especially with the fuel. Although it is going through a filter, still don't want that dirty. Oh my gosh, now where's the edge of this? There we go. All right, so now we're going to put a 90 on there, and then exactly the same process. Stick that in first. Some of these are a little bit easier, and some of them are a little bit harder to put in there. A little WD. And just a little dab will do you. You just don't want to gall up those. There we go. That's the way it's supposed to go in. That's the way the demo's supposed to work right there. They usually pop in pretty easily. The bigger the hose, usually the easier that is. This is -8. So we're going from the pump, which is -10. That's going to go to the filter, which is also -10. And then I necked it down to -8. Actually, I'm sorry. Let's back up. So it's -8 coming out of the gas tank. And then the goes to -10 in the filter because the filter is 10. Then it goes 10 into the pump, 10 out of the pump, and then there's a pre and post filter. So it'll go into the other filter as a 10 and then come out as a 6. So the final, there we go. Final size of this thing is going to be a 6. This is a relatively stock engine, so it doesn't need a whole lot of fuel. There you go. Nice little hose, all finished up. And these are reusable. You can just unscrew it and put it on another application. But I like using this hose. It's super strong. And then this goes in here. Well, let's get a little light on the subject. Oh, it's staring right at us. That ain't gonna work very good. Okay. -8 and -8. Here we go. Piece of cake. So he'll be able to get to his filter real easily right here. All you do is just pop this off and take that off. And then on the other side, it's going to come out with the other filter that I bought. Right here. So we have a pre-filter and a post-filter. The pre-filter is 100 micron, and then the post coming out is 10 microns. So that's going to go right here. And then go up to the fuel rail on the other side, and then the regulator back into this guy right here. So, piece of cake. So all I gotta do is just figure out these fittings. This is coming out with a 90 degree was kind of a pain in the butt. So I had to go to a actual hydraulic store to get this one, to get the 10 and the 10. So not the best looking fitting in the world, but it'll work. So that's what I came up with. So I'll get all that put together. Should work pretty nice. All right, fuel system is done. So pump to the filter, loops around, that comes out of the tank. I was a little concerned with the loop going up, but I think it'll be fine because the pump is below the fuel. Should pull it just fine. And then return side over here. I like the way this looks. I've done this on a few vehicles before, right on the fuel rail itself. It's pretty cool. So that obviously goes back to the tank, and then these two lines will sit right next to each other here, kind of close together. So that's it. And now I need to probably make a cable. Still waiting for some electrical components, but I think I can make a little cable. I'm gonna have to make a bracket on here because normally the cable pushes that way. Of course, I'm going to make it pull this way. So I'm going to make a plate that bolts on here, I use this for a bolt and that for a bolt. a little coming out here. Grabs it. I have to figure out what the stroke is. That has to go pretty far. So probably start up here. Kind of go like that. So I'll stick something on there and then turn it and kind of see what the angle is. And then this I will kind of all tie together right there. That should look pretty good. And what else? I don't know. I got so much to do. I don't even know. Oh yeah, I did the clutch line too. That's all done. Needed a little bit longer hose on there, so all I have to do now is bleed it. But that's where it's supposed to be, so that's good. You know, like I said, I'm still waiting for that electrical for the little relay, and then I could start wiring things up. Get the pump and the gear and the fans and all that stuff. I could actually start laying that harness out. So I don't know, we'll just keep plugging away. Been plugging away. Got most of this wiring kind of sorted out. I think it turned out pretty nice. I gotta figure out the actual circuits. So this is definitely not going to stay 30 because this is just for his whips, whip module. Got the fans, little loom right here. That's power for the fans, power for the pump. And then grounds for the pump and the fans are over here. Got a nice big cable going to that ground lug on the other side. So I still have a couple grounds that I could, couple grounds and a couple powers if I have to add something. And then this wire right here is going to go to the Terminator. And so are these two. So these are grounded triggers from the Terminator, and this is a power trigger. It's going to kick on the relays, which is going to kick on those little gizmos over there. So pretty clean. I'm going to get a 8L clamp on here, tie that up, probably another one over here, tie these up, and then obviously zip ties. And I got all kinds of stuff going on over here. I got to figure out what it does. I think a lot of the switches he had up there probably turned these like the fans and stuff on manually. So I'm not going to use a lot of these, but I got to go through and figure it out. I do need a, I do need another ground. So I need a ground on the relay. That's going to go over here. And then one of these powers up for the ignition. I just got to figure out which one it is. And then that'll plug in over there. So that turns on this, and then this turns on this, and then all these are kicked on with ignition. So it's pretty cool. And then I'll obviously need power for that. So we have this whole entire harness right here, which is directly to the battery. And then somewhere in that mess right there, that big old honking thing, is a wire to trigger the actual computer. I got to read the instrucciones, probably in this little guy right here, I would imagine. But, or maybe up here. Anyway, got to look some instructions to figure that out. But it's coming along. I think it looks really good. Turned out nice, pretty clean. So we should be able to get to the fuses from here if he ever pops a fuse for something. And fuel system's done. That's all buttoned up. Air cleaners are on there. And all this is going to get tied up still. Make it nice. tie it all together. Kind of came together real nice. And then I put a ground, big old honking ground right here. Actually went a little bit bigger. That goes right to the transmission, which grounds the whole tranny and engine. And then I left this relatively big one. That goes to this lug, and then that lug goes over to the other side. So that's grounding the frame and also grounding that little box. So basically all I have is two of these little guys. They're not tight yet. And then circuit protector, which is cool. That goes on there. Zip. So everything has a circuit protector right here, plus all the fuses. So it's turned out really nice. Took the valve covers off, kind of look underneath there. He's got some really nice springs and trunnion kits on there because he wasn't sure exactly what the guy had done. I got my new catch can. Here it is. So I'm going to use this one. This one looks like it's going to work out pretty good. So it does have a drain on there, and then it already has 10 AN fittings on there. And this kit actually comes with the hoses and all the fittings and the filter and the drain and all that stuff. So it's actually pretty cool. And that will hopefully go up here. So really cool spot for it. That little triangle is that. So it should fit in there. I'm just going to actually bend these tabs back, forward, or whatever. Going to bend them, make them fit. I'll probably put some nut certs in there and just bolt it right to it. And then we'll have to figure out the plumbing. So probably have to come down with 90s on here and then 90s out. So I did get some bulkhead -10s coming. Probably not going to have enough 90s in this kit, so I might have to go buy 2 more. That's okay. But I got some bulkhead -10s. I'm hoping to put them on the end of this if I have enough room. Might have to go like right here, and I'll probably have to trim this back a little bit. But that's okay. I can actually repowder coat that if I have to. If I cut that corner off. But something, we'll figure it out. It just has the stock little vents on there. That little tube over there. So I'm going to take those off. Those are kind of small. The stock one actually went through the intake manifold, part of the PCV system. So it actually helps suck it out. This one's not going to have that. So I'm going to take those out and put some pipe plugs in there. Make that kind of cleaned up. But I have to wait for those. They were supposed to come in today, and they didn't. Freaking Amazon. Both of those were coming overnight. So I got this overnight, and I did not get the other one. So that kind of sucks. Anywho, still have plenty to do. I just wanted to thank you guys for the subscribers that have kicked on board. I'm getting to that magic 1,000 number. It's creeping up. Doesn't do me any good because I don't have enough hours yet. You're supposed to have a minimum of 4,000 hours of views. I have a lot of views as far as people watching, but not a lot of hours. For some reason, like the average is 8 minutes on my videos, which is kind of weird. Guess I'm getting a lot jumping on there and then just jumping back off, or they think I'm boring or something. I don't know. Anywho, I'm nowhere close to 4,000 hours of views, but I'm really close to my 1,000 subscribers, which is my first big goal that I'm shooting for. So it's kind of cool. I just appreciate you guys doing that. So now is a nice time to ask for a little smash that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you a thing. Subscribe, likes. Apparently the algorithm on YouTube works with comments, shares, likes, and obviously watching. So it's kind of a big nut to crack with YouTube. Been looking a little bit more as far as the monetization of it. And you're not going to make much until you get into the hundreds of thousands, which that's not my goal, but it is kind of fun to at least make a couple bucks. But yeah, there's the big hurdles. So anything you guys can do to help me out, and I do enjoy the comments. There's a couple of you guys that are putting some pretty cool comments on there, and I appreciate the props that you're giving me on some of my lesson plans and on my channel. So thanks a lot, and keep it up, and we'll keep cranking them out on this vehicle over here. Get her done. All right, so I'm making the little plate for the throttle. So basically, I need it to go down like that. So made this little plate with this little ear over here, and then this is going to come down around that side. It's actually going to work out pretty good. I thought this was going to be a lot longer, the bracket, but it's just going to sit right here. So all I have to do is just build a little bracket off of this bolt right here. So we get these little brackets for the cable. So it'll be super clean. That's going to go on there. I'll have to figure out if I want to flip it around or do it this way. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, I'll go up here. So yeah, pretty nice. That'll be pretty clean. And then I have to figure out how to attach this. I have some holes in there. But I can't really put a bolt because back behind here is the little aluminum chunk for the throttle stop, and the bolt hits it. So I think I'll probably put some not time certs, the nut certs right in here, and then just screw the little bolts in. That'll be super clean, and that'll definitely hold it. And then of course I will powder coat all this and make it all clean and nice. So that's my next little project. So I was looking at the valve train on here. It's pretty nice. It's got the double springs on here and has the trunnion kit. So it has the little clips on there. So that all looks pretty good. It's got a bunch of simile lube on there. So he's in good shape. I'm waiting for my dash 10 bulkheads to show up so I can figure out where to put them. I really want to put them on the end, but this is round, so I'm actually thinking about taking my mill and just barely flatten this out, and I could flatten it out on the inside, but I got to measure how thick this is. It'd be nice if they came out here, but if I have to put them up here, I can. So look at this mess. There's so many tools that you have to do all this kind of stuff. This was all tucked away, but we pulled it out because we were looking at it yesterday. But yeah, just stuff everywhere. I got to put the harness on. I got all these tools over here because I was working on the instrument panel. So I got stuff strewn all over the place. More tools over here, wires. The little terminals that you need for the weather pack connectors and weather pack, and I need to put this stuff away one at a time. I mean, I got 3 layers of stuff here. 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of stuff here. Just expands over here. I got 2 more kits over here. Of course, this is always dirty, so if I got a flat surface, it's gonna get something on it. But anywho, all right, we'll keep plugging away and make that throttle. It's gonna turn out pretty cool. So we'll get that done next. All right. I don't like it. Not sure how I got this so far up, but it's not right. It needs to be down a little bit more. I mean, it would work, fits on there, just brings this cable a little bit higher than I kind of wanted for this bracket down here. I could actually bring this down more like that. So it needs to be about 1.5 inches or so lower than it is now. So we'll just make a new one. Not too bad. I really think it'd be quite a bit cleaner because I want this as low as I can get it. So I could put a Adel clamp on this right here. That'll hold my cable in place. And then just, angle this down a little bit. Angle the dangle. Yeah. So I'm going to redo it. Pretty easy. So I put those nut certs in there and that actually worked out really good. Just put them right in there, and then a couple of stainless steel bolts that I cut off because I had them that were too long. I think I actually cut them off a little too short. Although, I mean, yeah, I'll probably make another bolt too. That's just a skosh too short. Anywho, not too shabby, but I have a nice pattern now. So all this is identical. I'll just have to end up over here instead of over there. Let's do it. I ain't mad about it. I think it looks kind of cool. Pretty strong. Got the angle of the dangle just right. So I'll reroute this cable because right now it goes under the frame. So I'm going to bring it up and have it run with the electrical and the fuel lines. I'll kind of run all together with that stuff. So that'll actually look pretty good. So it had to be this high just because of the way the arm goes in an arc. So you can't have it like go over the top of the arc. So it has to keep pulling. So I had to bring it up this high, which is, it's okay. I mean, it looks pretty good right there. Once I get the cable actually ran the right way, everything goes and flows in there the right way, it'll actually look pretty clean. But definitely full throttle. I can hear it hitting in the back. And I want to go all the way full. I could take this off. And no, actually not getting full throttle. Yeah, that's not even close. Okay. I thought I was doing good. I'm gonna have to make one more arm. Dang it. Oh, I can't hold all this stuff at once. There we go. Yeah. Okay, back to the drawing board. That ain't right. So, one more arm. I could definitely leave this here and just make my arm. So, yeah. All right. Dang it. Trials and tribulations. So we'll get her done. Pretty easy fix. Made a new plate. And now, boom. You can actually hear that stopping before the pedal does. So I just had to get the arms. Actually, the arms are smack dab in between the two that I already made. So that's the ones that I made. The one I just did was right in the middle and shorter. That was too long for the throw. Like I said, it's kind of trial and tribulation. Getting the throw just right, you gotta hold everything and hold my beer. But it literally literally took me like 5 minutes to make that because I already had a pattern, so it's pretty easy. So sand it down a little bit, clean it up, and powder coat it. But yeah, super happy with that one. And this will go on there, and that's a tiny bit of movement, but it's pretty tough. Powder coat that, bada bing, bada boom. Put it on there, reroute that, put my fuel line back on to where it looks right. Right and tight, baby. It's gonna look good. Here we go. Get the bracket all powder coated. That one's all powder coated, nice. And it actually hits full throttle. You can hear it hitting. It's just so cool. I gotta thank God for my abilities and the tools and the knowledge. It's just so cool to, take just a raw, junky, old, crappy, rusty piece of steel, cut it, bend it, weld it, drill a couple holes, and same thing with this, just an old chunk of aluminum, cut it out, although it did take me 3 times, but I got it right, and then actually powder coat it right here at the house and bolt it on, and I'm done. So a couple hours worth of work, and now I have a killer bracket, and it's just so cool. I mean, I've been a mechanic my whole life. Started when I was 16, and obviously before that, bicycles and motorcycles I was working on and playing with. I was born to be a mechanic for 100% for sure. It's all I've ever wanted to do. It's just bred into me. And the fabricating part of this is just an absolute blast. Being able to work on all these sandrails and stuff, I'm just loving it right now. So yeah, it's just really neat. I just get a kick out of making stuff and actually, have a finished part that I could bolt on and I don't have to wait for powder coat somewhere else, and it's awesome, I mean, obviously you could paint it, but this is actually quicker because I spray it, cook it for 20 minutes, and then let it cool down for a couple minutes and bolt it on. So with paint, you got to wait a while for that to even dry, but it's obviously better than powder coat, but I mean, just look at all the stuff. Got a lathe, I've used that already several times, just building stupid little things. I had to turn a washer to exactly the right size on one of these fittings for the fuel system. That would have been, pretty hard to do with a grinder. Got a mill that I use this all the time. In fact, I'm going to probably use it on this on this valve cover over here. So I think what I want to do is mill just a tiny, it already has just a little tiny bit of a flat right here. I'm just going to skim this and flatten it out a little better, and then just barely touch these corners and flatten this, and I could put my bulkhead fitting in there. But you have to do that with a mill. I mean, you can't grind that and make it perfectly flat and nice, Obviously the welding equipment is invaluable. I'm trying to TIG more and more, but I'm not a great TIGger, but I could TIG. But yeah, it goes on, pipe bender, tubing bender. So I'm going to build these little tubes that go from this nozzle right here down. And what I want to do is kind of feed off of that. Whoa, almost died. Feed off of the roof line. So I want to curve it through here, just a tiny little bit of a curve, and then drop down with a sharp. So I need a tubing roller so I can roll it, and a tubing bender. So you need them both, they go hand in hand. And the roller is basically like the frame that I built on this motorcycle. So you can see the swing arm just has a tiny little curve to it, and it just gives it that aesthetics, so it's pretty neat. Shrinker stretcher, I showed that on one of my videos on working with sheet metal. Little brake. I use this a lot for, obviously a press for pressing in stuff, but for bending metal, if you have something kind of thick, made my own little deal for that. put that in there, and then you can bend up some pretty thick metal with this. There's a bunch of different dies and stuff you can use on that, but yeah, tools are so much fun. I built this little stool a while back. It's kind of neat. This is dirty and kind of yellowed a little bit, but when it was brand new, it was perfectly clear. I set a wrench on there one time. Actually, it was a 10 millimeter, which is hilarious. It took me forever to find that wrench. I'm like, where did I set that thing? So pretty funny. Anywho, yeah, I just have a lot of fun here in the shop. So I got to figure out what's next. Oh yeah, I'll probably put that catch can on. I got the arms bent a little bit on that. That follows the angle of the dangle. So that fits pretty good right there. All I'm going to do is just drill holes and put nut certs in there, so it's an easy deal to mount. And then I'm still waiting for my fittings that were supposed to be overnighted and still aren't here. But this little kit has pretty much everything else I need, which is pretty cool. I think that's going to look real nice. Yeah, we'll just keep plugging away. So started getting the harness laying in there. Big old fatty right here. It's kind of hard to make this harness actually look nice because, you know, it's universal. It's made for everything. I mean, it's mostly made for regular cars, but just got to do what you can do. This is all kind of a mess right now, but it's plugged in and kind of goes to where it's going. Knock sensor odd, so that goes on the other side. Knock sensor should be evens. So I've got knock sensor coming, and those will probably bolt into these bolts right here. So this was originally a center knock sensor motor, so it doesn't have the regular lugs for it, but they can bolt right into here. It'll be fine. So crank sensors on there, coolant sensors on there. I still got to run a hose from here over to here. And this all kind of messy mess right here will get kind of rerouted, hopefully cleaned up a little bit. This needs to go way over there on the other side. These, of course, have to connect to the heads. That's pretty good shape for that. I have a different map sensor coming because this plug did not fit into the map sensor that I have. So I got a new one coming for that. And then this plug right here goes to the O2, so I have to cut a hole and weld a bung on still. Then I need to get alternator plugged in. This is the factory, or not factory, but the sending unit for his gauges. So he has regular gauges in there. So all those gauges have to have their own senders. So that's the oil one. I drilled and tapped this out and put that up here. And then this is a pressure transducer for the fuel, and pressure transducer for the oil. So these two, the actual Holly will be able to read. And then this is for the coils. And then we have the big one over here for the injector harness. But yeah, this is all kind of goofy, so hopefully it'll kind of set down, maybe down in here a little bit. I just kind of plugged it all in just to see where it sits, but it's not horrible. But everything's going to run on top of the transmission like this, kind of bundled up, which would be pretty cool. I think that'll look good. But yeah, it's kind of done for this one. Got the throttle done and put on there. The still waiting for my fittings for the catch can. That catch can, that looked pretty nice. So I'm going to run the hoses, hopefully straight out of here, and then up on a 90. So that looked pretty cool. And then of course the air filter sits over here. So it's plugging on. Hook this up to the cylinder heads, but the actual computer actually is hooked up now. There was a main power, which is this one. So you have a battery power all the time. It goes directly to the battery. So I made a harness for that. And that's what this one is. And then that harness runs over there, so it's all nice. So it works kind of like a amplifier on a car, where it's got power all the time, but it doesn't turn on until you hit the ignition switch. So that's basically what these two wires are right here. We got a ground and a power, and that little harness right there, which is right here, goes in there, and then that basically kicks on the computer. So once again, once I turn that on with this orange wire, that kicks that on, that powers this whole entire thing up. So everything will get ignition powered back here. And then I have to figure out the sending unit wires, which these wires over here are just power going to the old relays, these ones that were on the other side. So I don't need two of those. Two of these wires actually had power. I already tested them. I think it was the green and the red. And then the rest of them didn't. So I'm assuming that those are my sending unit wires, which should be pretty easily to figure out. Just look at the wires over here and figure out which one the sender is, and hopefully there's a color on there that matches those colors back there. But I can ohm it out, put a meter on this side, a meter on that side, and figure out the continuity. It's pretty clean that it's already in a plug, so I could just make another harness for it and then plug it in. Let's see, we got oil, water, and and volts. We have a voltmeter up there. So yeah, all I gotta do is figure out all those. But it's coming along. It's a pretty good day. Long day. Been out here since wee early in the morning. But this part's fun. I like doing all this wiring. I'm trying to make it clean. Right now it's kind of a mess, but there's a lot of stuff that doesn't get used. I gotta read and see what all those are about. There's another harness that I have to hook up, which is the inputs and outputs. Whoops, that's what this guy is. So it has a tons of different inputs and outputs that you can hook. Some of these are grounded and some of these are power, which is, these are the ones that I need to hook up to these wires. So we got the grounds for the fan. There's two grounds for the fan and one power for the fuel pump. So that's what these guys are. So they have a whole bunch of different ones for like boost controllers and anything that you need to click on or off. You could do it with this little harness. So you got to plug that in and get it hooked up. And then this is the injector harness. This one right here. And then the O2 sensor. That's going to go in there. And should fit just perfect right in there. It's kind of silly. They Gibson that made these headers, they put a bung on them, but it's down underneath there. And if anybody knows anything about O2 sensors, you never hook them like this, because the condensation and the moisture in there will kill your O2s. You have to have them, I say, like I think 10 degrees or something like that, basically at an angle. So it'll go right about there, something like that. Maybe I might be able to get two tubes if I get a little bit closer to that junction. So something to that effect, but just another thing I gotta cut and weld it on there. So I think that concludes this one. Actually going out of town, so probably won't have a video for next week because I'm not going to do much. But I will catch you guys after that. How's my hair doing? Kind of messy? Yeah, I've been working hard out here. So hopefully you enjoy part 2. I should be really close to getting running on the next one, or maybe even finished. So it's coming along pretty good. Neat little car. It's a fun project. So hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll see you on the next one.